Hello valued viewers, I hope you're all doing very well. Have you ever been in a mission in your F-16 and you've been asked to get to a certain location at a certain time? Or have you been in a mission where your F-16 has had real problems with fuel endurance and you've run out of fuel because you've got your fuel calculations wrong? Well, I have on both fronts, and we've just discovered, maybe a little late, that we've got something called the cruise page in the F-16, which does all this calculation for us. It's a bit nerdy, but incredibly useful as it turns out. First things first, pause. Mustn't forget to change our HUD speedo from calibrated airspeed through true airspeed to ground speed. Otherwise, the advice given won't be much use. So our cruise page on the ICP is number 5. So press 5. There are 4 sub-pages: TOS, dobber sequence to change through them, range, home, and endurance. TOS, time on station, allows us to select a time to arrive at a selected steer point, and it will advise us the ground speed to travel at. Range shows an estimated fuel remaining when reaching a selected steer point. It also shows the most optimum speed to fly at. Home shows estimated fuel remaining when reaching a selectable home steer point. It shows the optimum cruise altitude and can show the most optimum speed. And finally, endurance shows the estimated time when we will reach our selectable bingo level of fuel. It shows the optimum fuel efficient Mach to fly at and can show ground speed to fly at. Let's start with time on station. Time is our system time, and we don't want to change that. Desired time on station. This is where we select the system time that we want to arrive at the selected steer point at. We can select our steer point through the steer point incrementer here, up and down, and you can see them cycling here on the HSD. So why don't we select steer point 5. The first thing to say, and this is a really important distinction to make, is that all calculations will be done directly from our position here to the selected steer point, but they will not follow the steer point chain. So they will not take us through steer point 1, 2, 3, and 4 like some aircraft do. It just takes us from here to there. Will we ever get a function in the F-16 that can cycle the whole flight path? Not sure yet, but this is how it works at the moment. Let's dobber down and choose a selected time. I don't really know what to select, so I'm just going to guess 04 hour, 10 minutes, 0 seconds, enter. ETA is the time that we will arrive at that steer point if we're flying at current parameters, assuming we're flying directly towards the steer point, obviously, which currently we're not. Based on the time on station we selected, it advises here the required ground speed that we need to achieve. It's going up at the moment because we're actively paused, so it will constantly go up. We can also show an advisory caret on the HUD, dobber up back to the top time on station and press M select or 0. We now show a caret here. So that's our current ground speed, 407. We need to go that 360 or whatever it is. Right, so let's unpause and just go and simulate that real quick. So obviously we need to turn towards the steer point, otherwise none of this means anything. We need to slow down. I'm just going to speed up time to expedite that, and pause. So that will get us to steer point 5 at our desired time on station. Okay, let's go on next option, which is range. At our selected steer point, 5 in this case, flying at current parameters, we have an estimated fuel remaining when we get there of 6,668 pounds. If we were to press M select 0 here, we will be given a new advisory caret here. That is our optimum speed advisory caret, and if I unpause and fly at that speed, based on the altitude and other parameters that it takes in, that is the speed that will give us the greatest range. Punch up time again. It happens to be, pause there, about 394 knots. Next, dobber sequence again. Home, the amount of fuel estimated that we'll have when we reach that home steer point, which is just a selected steer point, and we can change that if we want. Let's say our home is actually going to be steer point 3. At current parameters, we will arrive there with £6,400. It also tells us if we want to optimize our fuel to get there, the altitude should be 39,000 feet. We can also be given a new advisory speed if we were to make sure we've got home highlighted and we press M select ping, we've got a new speed. So at our current altitude, about 440, it looks like. Let's unpause that. Obviously, we need to be flying towards the steer point for any of this to be relevant. So make sure you're flying towards the steer point. All right, speed up a bit, about whatever that is, 450 knots there. Finally, our fourth sub mode, ping endurance. This is useful if we are flying at a certain altitude. It will tell us the speed to stay airborne for the longest time. It's not relevant to a steer point. We can select a steer point, but it won't actually change anything. It tells us time remaining flying at current speed, altitude, and whatnot until we reach our bingo fuel. And obviously, if we were to dob a return, list 2 for bingo, we can select our bingo fuel, currently 2,000. Dob a return, cruise, sequence. So if we wanted to increase the amount of time we can fly at these parameters, then we should fly at our optimum Mach, which is usually very slow. Currently 0.51, and as you probably guessed, if you can press M select, we can have an advisory caret there, and that's going to be very slow. Oh, and one thing I like doing, if you're anything like me, watch my fuel flow as I turn the afterburner on, and watch my time to bingo fuel go down. It's funny. And let's go back to serious mode. There, it wants us to fly at 313 ground speed. So it's a really important reminder for this to make sense. You must have this set to ground speed. Viewers, I think, actually, I've missed one. Let me just show you one I think I've missed. If I go back to home and press M select. Yep, I thought I'd missed one. So the home, as well as advisory caret telling us the speed to fly, also tells us the altitude. So because the advisory caret is up there, obviously it's telling us to climb up to 39,000 feet. So that is the cruise page, which is genuinely really useful to get to a certain steer point at a certain time and various fuel functions to fly most optimally. I hope that was useful, and bye-bye.